coaching this generation's real estate superstars. Harris Real Estate University.
You spoke a little bit earlier about limiting beliefs, and in fact when you're getting started there can be a lot of people in your life that are perhaps keeping you from being successful. I'd like to know, when you were getting started, I'm sure you had a lot of people that said you couldn't do it or didn't believe in you. How did you change your life so that you were surrounded by people that really supported you and helped you be successful?
Well, the first person I had to convince was me, because I had just as many of those limiting beliefs as anybody else did. So that was the most important to me. I can't change anybody else. The only person I can change is me. Now, what I can do, and depending on how deep the relationship is, I worked with a group of, telling Tim and this, I worked with a group of 10 paint contractors that came in and strategized on how to do this for themselves. I mean, they're real successful all over the country. The first guy walked into me and said, okay, I know you're going to teach me some great things and all this stuff, but how do I get my wife to do it? She doesn't like taking risks and all that stuff. And so I just reverted back to what Dr. Gross would have taught us years ago. And, you know, if that's a key person in my relationship, I'm very fortunate my husband likes to take risks with me, so it's not him. You know, it was other family members, but they're not as controlling of you. If it's a spouse, that's a different story. But what I would say is to come to some kind of agreement. This is part of what building your truly perfect life does. See, we don't realize that what we're saying yes and no to is making a future decision for us. When you correlate those two, then all of a sudden you may have to do something that makes you uncomfortable. And so that would be one way to help that person see long term what their decisions were causing you not to have or not to be able to do. And then the second thing would be to say, how much would it take? Dr. Gross did this all the time with me on making decisions. We were about to do a $7 million property, and my inside just knew it wasn't the right thing to do. And I couldn't seem to get my arms around it. Wasn't a yes, and I know if it's not a yes, it's a no. And so he took me through a real simple exercise and says, okay, Linda, how much money would you have to have in the bank for you to feel good about moving forward with this deal? And when I figured out, he said, would 12 months of payment make you feel comfortable? I said, yeah, 12 months. When I figured out what 12 months of payments would be, I was like, no way, I'm not doing that deal. The answer was clear. Does that make sense? Well, you got to do the reverse of that. If $100,000 in the bank would make this person feel okay about you taking a little extra risk, I don't know if I'm getting close, but then that's what you do. You just got to figure out a system depending on how close they are to you. If they're not close in my life, I just get away from them. But if they're my spouse or somebody I love and I couldn't get away from them, then I would have to work out something. And I might even get a mediator or somebody to help me do that. But I would say, okay, let's do this, because my daughter married the mirror opposite of herself. And so the one thing I said to both of them is, don't spend your whole life trying to change each other. That's miserable. So learn how to work with your strengths and his weaknesses and vice versa, and be a team. But it's not fair for anybody to try to hold the other person back based on their own limit. You know, and each of our behaviors causes us to have a certain fear. As a driver, my biggest fear is wasting my time or taking advantage of me. So whoever's working with me has got to know that and help me feel okay about whatever we're doing, and it's not doing that. Does that help?